What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here. So, going to be a little bit of a different type of video today because most of the time I talk about like some of the outside stuff, some of the behind the scenes stuff, and then I get into kind of digging into the players, and that's the main meat of my videos. Today, I'm going to breeze through the players. I'm going to breeze through the before the match stuff because there's one topic that I feel like needs to be addressed and is the big issue of our problems: Potter. So first of all, just talking about the outside of the match stuff, yeah, it's becoming more and more obvious how much the people in charge of the FA or whatever, whoever's in charge over there, they hate us. Because I mean, I already talked about how very odd and coincidental it was that we faced Man City in the first round of the Carabao Cup and now the first round of the FA Cup. And even if we beat them today, we would have had Arsenal in the next round. Somebody do the odds on that, because that's completely improbable. Like, never, never, never would happen. But of course, it happened to us because the people in charge hate our club. They hate Abramovich and all the stuff he did. They're very racist against Russian people. So, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous how this all was set up. But despite that, you still got to go out there. You still got to beat whoever you play. You would face Man City and Arsenal probably somewhere down the line anyway, even if we didn't face them early. So you got to beat them. You got to be good enough, and obviously we are not good enough. Yeah, I mean, just we have so many players who don't really want to play for us. The referee would prefer to play for Man City as well. So it was almost like a 5v12 today. Yeah, that second penalty call was absolute garbage, and there's so many just non-fouls throughout the game that he was given to Man City because they'd roll around and scream and cry and be like, "The referee touched me," and the referee would be like, "Oh my gosh, I got you, hun." Yellow. Actually, didn't give that many yellow cards to us, which is pretty weird. But to quickly breeze through all of the players, just because it really is hard to discuss the players because of how poorly we were set up today. Not just in our tactics, but also, I mean, even the formation was weird and where some of the players were being played. So outside of three players, everybody could be categorized as either average or trash. So just going to go ahead and go through those. Kepa, trash. Chalaba, trash, which partially not his fault because he was put in the right back spot in the first half, which he's not used to, and you could tell. Koulibaly, trash. Humphreys, trash. Hall, average. First average player. Kovacic, trash. Disappointing for him, but yeah, he looked awful today. Jorginho, trash. Typical. Into the front four? Yeah, four. Ziyech, trash today. He's not typically, but part of the problem for him today was we just couldn't get him the ball, and if he's not on the ball, he's not really doing much, unfortunately. He did work back a couple times, but he's not an effective player if we don't have possession, and we hardly had any possessions today. Mount, average, and Gallagher, trash, which is very disappointing. I expect more of him, but he's not showing what he's capable of. Like, on the ball, he's awful. His touch is bad. It's not good enough. As far as the subs that came on, Fofana, trash. Hopefully he gets better, but I mean, he's not really doing much outside of what Havertz has shown us, which is a lack of movement and not really much on the ball whenever he does get it. Zakaria I'll talk about later. Who are the next two? Billy Quaita I'll talk about later as well. Who's the other one that came on with this Billy Quaita? Oh, Hutchinson. I'll give him average. He looked better today than he did in the midweek. I don't know. He's still not quite shown enough for me to think, oh yes, I'm excited to see more of him. He just kind of had a couple of bright moments here and there, but still not great. So he was average, though. He was at least trying, which is more than I can say for some people. And then the last sub, Chukwuemeka, was average, but I mean, he only had 20 minutes. We were already 3-0 down. I don't know why he's not starting, but again, I'll talk about that later when I talk about Potter. But the three players I didn't mention, Azpilicueta, Zakaria, and Havertz, they are the only three that are outside of the average or trash. Zakaria and Azpilicueta are on the good side of that. I think Zakaria looked great when he came on. I think he needs to be starting regularly because he's starting to look really, really good, better than anything Jorginho and Kovacic showed us today. Our brightest player throughout the entire match, and he came off the bench. Azpilicueta wasn't great, but I have to give him an award for the hardest worker, because he came on the field and suddenly he's hitting players, he's kicking players, he's actually giving an effort. And I feel like that's something that we don't really have many players doing today. So the fact that he came off the bench and he looked our most energetic and our hardest working player, I do have to give him some credit for. Because, again, he wasn't great today. He definitely made some mistakes. There was one moment where Koulibaly actually put a good ball forward, and it fell to Azpilicueta, and I'm thinking, crap. And sure enough, bad touch. He has options out wide on the left, but then he has to cut it back because his first touch was bad, and then he plays it to Hutchinson, who he also has not had the greatest touches. So, again, it wasn't perfect, he wasn't flawless, but he was our hardest worker today, and I feel like that little bit of a spark did, I guess, bring up the energy level a little bit. It's not like it turned the game around for us or anything, but once he started throwing in some challenges and actually trying to win the ball back, I did notice there was a slight turn in our favor in which we did start to win the ball back a little bit more. But it still didn't, again, it didn't change the game in our favor or anything. It didn't turn the tides. It's one of those things that you expect out of your captain, to come off the bench and give that energy and morale boost to the players around him, even though we're 3-0 down. So, but Havertz is on the bad side of he's not average, he's not trash, he's something else. He is, I mean, I will never understand, and this comes down to Tuchel, because from what I understand, Tuchel is the one that wanted Werner out. I will never understand why we kept Havertz but got rid of Werner. Because you look at the two, and there's just no comparison. Havertz, he'll stand up there, and that's about it. That's about all you get from him. Unless you've got somebody making a run to open up space for him, he's completely, utterly worthless. Just nothing. Whereas Werner, sure, he'll miss the target. Sure, he'll waste a couple chances. But he'll get chances. He will open up space for the players around him. He will make runs. He'll bust his butt 100% of the time. You want to know how many players we had doing that out there today? One, who came off the bench, Azpilicueta. I didn't see that from anybody else today because we got rid of one of the players that will do that. Mount will do that from time to time. But he's still young. He's still growing into that leadership role. So he's not really able to get that feeling out of everybody else. But you see a guy up top and he's busting it to try to win the ball from the defenders back there. That kind of gives you a little bit of a boost. You're like, all right, so he's putting some pressure. Let's go. Let's go with him. Havertz, I don't think I ever saw him get out of park. Because I don't even think he got into first gear today. So, utterly worthless. I don't want to see him again. Obviously, the handball to give them the second goal is just another mark on his record. But even that is like, okay, well, it's just another problem for him. It's not like anything that's super shocking anymore. So I'm sick of seeing him. I hate the fact that Fofana came off the bench and did nothing today, because I wanted him to go out there and show us, hey, here's what it's like to have a good striker. Here's what it's like to have somebody who really knows the position well and knows what he's doing, because we need somebody up there to do that. And we don't have that right now. Havertz isn't doing it. Aubameyang isn't doing it. And Fofana, at least in his first appearance, again, he might get better, he might grow, but based on this first appearance, I don't see it. I didn't see him busting it to try to help the team. So, yeah, that's about all for the players. Want to quickly brush through that to talk about the one bright spark today, and that is Potter. And not that, he is the bright spark, but the fact that he might be gone is the bright spark. Because this is one of those games where it was bad enough, it was embarrassing enough, it was dull enough. You could just see the lack of belief in the players, the lack of belief in our play. You could tell there's an issue here, and it starts from who is trying to get these players lifted. Who's the one that's trying to motivate them? 3-0 down at halftime. Hey, guys, come on. Hey, this is embarrassing. What are we doing out there? We're all in 6s and 7s. We're not doing our jobs. Let's get out there. Let's show them what we're made of second half. Didn't see any of that. If anything, he went into the halftime team talk and said, well, guys, this is just where we are right now. Just try not to make it any worse, okay? Just try to keep it at 3. We don't want to give up any more goals, okay? Okay. We suck. Like, that's what they looked like coming out in the second half. So, what is he doing? What is he doing to get the players lifted? What is he doing to try to get the team back to where it should be? What is he doing to try to get these players' morales up, their spirit up, the fight, the work rate, the energy? Where is any of that? Because I don't see it. I didn't see any of it today. You know, the game of the midweek, it wasn't great, but there was still a little bit of, okay, so we got a couple of bright sparks in there. You know, Zakaria looking good, Chukwumeka looking energetic. He doesn't start either of them today. The two players that, in my opinion, single-handedly gave us the momentum we needed to really challenge Man City in the midweek, those two players on the bench today. One of them didn't come on until very late. So, what is he doing? What is he doing to try to get us back to where we should be? In my opinion, he's not doing anything. And here's the thing, because I've already seen, you know, you obviously have a large section of the fan base that want him gone because they're still so loyal to Tuchel because he won us the Champions League and they think Tuchel is just a god and he could do no wrong. Then you got your people in the fan base who are always back the manager no matter what. Even if he's terrible, even if he's the worst manager we've ever had at the club, it doesn't matter. You have to back him. You have to keep hoping he'll do better. It doesn't. We could get relegated. They still say, no, you got to back the manager. Like, you got your cheerleaders and then you have your Tuchel, like, obsessed fan base. So those are the two extremes I feel like at our club right now. I'm in the middle. I see the problems with Tuchel. I see we needed a change. I didn't really like him as a manager on the whole of it. You know, I appreciated what he did to get us back on track from where we were with Lampard, because Lampard just, unfortunately, he's not up to scratch, and it's shown at Everton too, which is disappointing. But we needed a change for Tuchel because we had gotten into this rut with him, where he got us looking better defensively, but he couldn't figure out our attack, and he still couldn't. Even after he brought some players in, he still couldn't figure it out, And then our defense started to waver as well because we lost a superstar in Rudiger. And so this season, we had a lot of issues, and we didn't patch up those issues. We didn't figure out the right players to bring in. Sterling, Aubameyang, two players that aren't really going to help us that much based on how Tuchel played or wanted us to play. You know, Koulibaly, Cucurella, Fofana, not really great defenders to bring in. You know, we needed to bring in a superstar defender to replace Rudiger, and we didn't. So we didn't really get the players we needed. That's on Bowley. We also got rid of some players, which is, I think, probably on Bowley and Tuchel, because I think Bowley let Tuchel have a lot of the I guess, say-so in the transfer market. So we didn't do our jobs to get the right players in. And Tuchel's tactics, still very easy to read, still very easy to predict, still very easy to play against. So we started off pretty poor. So we needed a change. However, Potter was not the right move. Potter is it's like a David Moyes going to Man U. You know, he looks good at some of these mid-table clubs because, one, you probably have more time to sort what you want at the mid-table clubs. Two, there's not as much expectation. You know, so you don't have to go into every game expecting to win. Sometimes you can go in thinking, all right, we're the underdogs. Let's just try to play our game and let's try to keep it close and comfortable. And then if we manage to keep it close, then hey, let's go at them at the end. So there's a different style to the way you're going to play. And on top of that, there's a difference in, I guess, tactics. You know, the way that you're going to set up your team, the way that you're going to make changes, make subs, make switches between the games. You're probably going to be playing more games because you're going to be in Europe, and most of the time if you're managing mid-level side, you're not. So there's a lot that's different going from mid-table to the top dog, to one of the best teams. So there's too much of a gap there to come in and fix what was broken. We needed a manager who could come in and fix the issues that Tuchel was having. Fix the problems, the lack of energy, the lack of creativity, the unwillingness to get out of our defense with our passing. We needed a manager who was going to be different than that, who was going to fix those problems, and was going to really look to change us in the way we played. But we brought in Potter, who he doesn't really have the capabilities to fix problems at a top level side. He's not that much different tactically than Tuchel. The way he sets up the team, I mean, we were 4-0 down. We're still playing out of our back, despite the fact that we're 4-0 down. So there's just too many issues with bringing in Potter, to where now, you lose players through injuries, and that's unfortunate, and that needs to be looked at again. Like I said in my last review, the medical staff needs to be assessed and see why we have these issues with our players, why so many are ending up with injuries that are not just knock injuries, they are muscle injuries, they are injuries that can be avoided if they are physically fit to play. And then, of course, returning from injury, I don't think we've had a player successfully return from a long-term injury in years that I can think of. Every time, Conte, how long has he been out? James consistently injured. Chilwell consistently injured. Fofana, he was back and now he's injured again. There's an issue with the medical staff, but you look at what we have. We still have enough talent to say, all right, we should be winning the games we should be winning. You think about the big clubs, the top teams. What games should they be winning? Well, any team in the middle of the table and the bottom of the table, you should be beating those teams. Is the teams that are in the top 6 or 7 or 8, those are the teams that maybe you struggle against. Maybe, obviously the Premier League, it's not that simple, because any team can beat you on any given day. But you feel like if you want to be one of the top clubs, if you want to be in and around the Champions League, you should be beating teams in the bottom of the table and most of the teams in the middle of the table. Where we are right now, we're not beating anybody. We beat Bournemouth. Woo. We had James for that one. He's gone again. Now we're back to not beating anybody. We can't beat Nottingham Forest. We don't even really trouble Man City that much. We couldn't beat Arsenal. We couldn't beat Newcastle. We couldn't beat Brighton. We couldn't beat all these teams. As soon as we lost a couple of our key players, we couldn't beat them. That's not where we should be. Even with all these injuries, we still have enough at this club. We still have enough talent. We still have enough players. We should still be beating the teams we should be beating. The mid-table sides, the lower sides. We should still beat them, and we're not. We're not really doing that. So my question is, why? What is wrong with Potter that he can't figure out how to adjust the team when he loses a couple players? It shouldn't be, I don't feel like, that difficult. I get tactically it does change things, and maybe that can be a little rough to adjust to, but that's not the problem, though. We look like a team who's ready to go get beat. We look like everybody who walks out there is going at 50 to 60 to 70% all game. I don't think I can remember a performance in this season, if I'm being honest, where I thought we were busting it. Everybody on the field was pushing themselves 100% the entire game. I can't think of a performance like that. Because that's not how Potter plays. That's not how Tuchel played. That's not how they wanted us to play. They want us to keep it slow and methodical, knock it around, and it's not enough. It hasn't been enough for a while. Who are the best teams in the Premier League right now? You got Arsenal, Man City, Newcastle. What are they all doing? They're moving the ball with pace. They win it back. They press you high to win it back quickly. And then boom, 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 knock it around. They move as a team. They got players making runs off of each other. They know who's where. I can remember several times today where a player picks up the ball and he's got options. He's got options right over there. If he would just turn his head before the ball came in and see, oh, I got 2 options in space over there. That's all it would take. Touch, boom, it's gone. But instead, he has no idea where anybody is. He doesn't know who's making runs, so he's got to take a touch, pick his head up, look. Too late, he's under pressure. Now he's got to go backwards, and then we're going backwards. And that's easy stuff to manage. That's not tactics. That's not, that's not a style of play. That's just be aware. Coach them to be aware. Coach them to know who's making runs off of them, to know where their teammates are, to give a crap, to put energy out there. Like, that's not hard to coach into a player. So if he can't even do that, why is he still here? So, yeah, I mean, today, yeah, it was an embarrassing result, but more so than anything, it's kind of I hope that this is kind of an example of this is why Potter does not work as a manager. Like, yes, I don't want our club to go back into that, well, we just got to keep changing managers until we get success. And if that manager starts to lose, well, then we change them again. We get big success. I don't want to turn into that. I agree we need to stick with one manager and push forward with him. Let him build a team. Let him bring in the players he wants. Let him start to build tactics. I agree. I mean, you look at what Pep has done with Man City, what Klopp has done with Liverpool, heck, what Arteta is doing, what Howe is doing right now. I agree. Sometimes you need to give a manager time. However, this game, the past several games that we've seen Potter in action, he's not the manager I want our club to go forward with. He's not giving us what we need. He's not getting the players motivated. He's not doing anything to adjust our fortunes here. It's all the same. It's the same boring, dull performances every single time. Players lack belief. Our play is slow. It's dull. It's negative. It's backwards. Change something. Nope. We're just going to keep pounding that brick wall. Eventually, we will bust through this brick wall. Just keep passing backwards, guys. Hey, Kepa, keep it short. Goal kicks, keep it short. Knock it around the defense. Oh, we gave up a corner? Crap. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. We got another goal kick. Go short again. We'll get it this time. I don't even know, like, what goes through their minds. Like, the 20th time that we tried to pass in the back and we gave the ball away again, like, do they still just sit there and go, all right, we'll do it next time. We'll be better next time. Is that really what goes through their heads? Because I can't imagine that's going through their heads. I imagine it's something like, God, are we still doing this? Like, are we still trying to do this? Can we please just go long, get it out of our backfield so that way we don't have to defend for 80% of the match? So, yep, that's, again, I know it's a little different review. Most of the time I talk about the players, but this was just a game that showed me, and I hope Bowley and the people who make those decisions, I hope this showed, hey, Potter, he's not good enough. He is not good enough to manage a club at this level with that much expectation on him. He's not the manager to take us forward. So let's find a manager who can make adjustments now. I'm not saying let's look for our long-term manager at this moment, but we need to find a manager who can fix the problems we're having. I don't know who. That is part of the problem. It's kind of like, well, who do you turn to at this point? But yeah, I think we do need to start searching for a long-term manager next season, but this season's a wash. Let's get a manager who can come in and at least keep us respectable, keep us out of the bottom, because that's starting to become a concern now as many games as we're losing. So let's find a manager who can at least do that and keep us somewhat competitive this season. Maybe break us into the top 7, so we might get Europa League next year. That way, we still are able to bring in players who want to play at the top level. Because if we're not in Europe next season, that really does damage to the club. Who's going to want to come play for Chelsea who are not in any European competition? So we need to find a manager who can fix these issues now, adjust the team now, and get us back on the right track. And then next season, already start looking, let this manager know who's coming in. Hey, this is just for this season. Next season, we got to find somebody who can come in and will be the manager to take us forward. He will be the one that will trust, hey, we're building a long-term thing. Let's see what you can do. But that's just my opinion. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on this game? And obviously on all of my thoughts as well. Let me know what you think. We could talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Chelsea reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.